Hey fam, so it's the last part of Sunday. I don't know if like you guys stay up late on a Sunday. I hate to do it. When I do it, it must be that I have a whole heap of work to do. And I just have to knock it off. But Sunday nights, I really love to be in my bed early. And the fact that I'm not, you know what that means, right? You know what that means. So I just finished the very first live webinar with my 2021 On Purpose Mastermind group. And again, I'm just saying thank you to everybody who signed up. Like, we had people literally signing up the minute the webinar started. I was getting emails that people had just registered and were coming into the webinar. So I'm really so very grateful for everybody who has just, kind of raised their hand and said, listen, Medea, 2021 Medea, I'm going to work it like a CEO working a growth plan for his or her company. But I wanted to share something with you, and I'm really excited about it because it allows me to give more to my online community that has really just been a blessing for me. There are lots of things I'm not able to share online, and so I have to share with really close friends. But and that's only because if I say A, like, it becomes a headline, and B, it's on the news and people want an interview. So I just kind of keep a lot of things inside my circle of friends and family. But I'm always so moved, like positively moved and filled with gratitude when I come online and there's just like a lot of love in this space. There is a lot of joy for me and my life transitions, and just appreciation, like a space where you feel like your voice is valued. And I get that in my online space, and I'm like, yeah, them a rock with me. You understand? Like, I can be myself and be perfectly flawed and just still feel like my voice is welcomed. I haven't had a year of straight wins, and that has really just kind of shown me who is here to observe, right? And who is growing with me, and who know me from when we just start doing anything in a public and national way, and can kind of register the growth. Like, when I first see her little girl with the afro, and then look at her now, I just genuinely be excited about my growth. So I may not know everybody, but I'm grateful for all the love. I try to read all the comments. I try to respond to all of them. It takes a lot of time, so sometimes I don't get around to just sharing my gratitude and love with everybody who stops to make a comment. But I just want to let you know that I see it, I feel it, I vibe it, and I welcome all of it. And the same kind of love you give me is literally just being recycled in my spirit, and we just give it back to you, and it's an honor and a blessing to be able to do that. So I just did our first webinar. If you have not registered for my 2021 Mastermind, it's not too late. We've just gone through one webinar. We have a workbook out and a self-love challenge that we're starting this week. So tomorrow is actually day 1 of our self-love challenge, which is a prerequisite. And it's something I want to talk about here too, because I think a lot of us conflate ego and self-centeredness with self-love. So when you love yourself, you kind of feel guilty. When you do things that confirm to others that I love myself more than this, them say you go on like your hype and you forget where you come from, and them know you're from yay high and remember this and remember that. So all of a sudden your self-love is weaponized as evidence that you're not grateful. But I think the first thing you have to be grateful for is your life, and you have to be grateful for the presence of mind to make decisions for yourself. And the minute you realize that you're able to do that, you end up getting very, very protective of that ability to make decisions and make choices. So when you choose things that affirm your worth and unchoose things that no longer affirm your worth, or perhaps never did, it's going to cause friction. And you have to be okay with that. Somebody just said, them lucky me I hold my head higher this year. Absolutely. You have to just learn to be okay with that. Not everybody who you start with you're going to finish with. and there's this, you know, obligation in the culture to, like, you know, no man is left behind. If we started on day 1, you're gonna be there on my day 365. That's good to have that kind of loyalty, to honor people who honor you, and to serve people in that way. But when you realize that there is dishonor and disservice, you have to just be brave enough and love yourself enough to release yourself of the obligation, and release them too of the obligation, because sometimes people want to shift, you know, but they are also battling those feelings of loyalty, and they're like, we've kind of been best friends like for so long, we've been so close for so long. If I leave now, maybe they're gonna judge me and say I'm disloyal and I'm not real, you know, and I'm not being a day one-y. So sometimes it's you too that needs to release people, because you have transition and you're feeling guilty, they want to transition, they're feeling guilty, and you're both just like tripping over each other, and the relationship isn't rewarding anymore. So it's important to love yourself. That's the first requirement. But outside of what it means in terms of nourishing relationships, the most important thing is that if you don't love yourself, you can't want better for yourself. And people who have not fallen deeply and passionately in love with who they are, understanding their self-worth and the beauty of them, you know, like their worthiness, their divinity, their purpose. When you're not at that place, like, you would take anything for life give, you would be satisfied with anything at all. You just say, all right, me will work with it. If I decide there, I decide there. And that blocks you from living a life of fulfillment, because you're so okay with the unfulfilling thing, you're so okay with the unhappy thing, you're so okay with the uncomfortable thing, you're so okay with the mediocre thing, that, you know, you just don't even open your eyes and give thought to the possibility that there could be more for you. And it is a love of self and an understanding of your worthiness that's going to elevate you in that way. So self-love when it comes to goal setting is so critical. I'll watch people set goals for themselves, and I can't tell what they value. If they value what people think about them, or what they think about them, or what their discerning spirit tells them is important to do now. You can't just look at lists of goals and tell, you know, people who are focused on amassing wealth and amassing material things, if that's like the primary and core focus. No talk about family, no talk about friendship, no talk about peace, centeredness in spirit, mindfulness, spiritual life, and wealth. Like, if they're not touching those things, you can tell that their sense of worthiness is attached to those external things. Their sense of joy and happiness is attached to those external things. So you need self-love to set good goals. You also need self-love to achieve those goals, because if you don't love yourself enough, what are you going to fight for? You know, what are you fighting for? Like, what's the point? You know, if you can't settle with any old thing, right? If anything goes for you, why would you go for more? You know, so you have to really, really want more for yourself in order to fight for it when it gets difficult. But how will you want more if you don't love yourself enough to desire growth and progress and elevation and success? So the self-love challenge is the very first challenge. Like, we didn't even start with no going to the gym and changing your diet and money stuff. It's yourself. Like, do you love you? You know, because if you don't love you, none of this is going to work. And if you start off strong, you're going to just kind of peter out in the middle of the year and just get blah. And then people are going to have to drag you. And then I'm going to have to send a lot of emails to ask you if you're still on board and come on and let's do this. So the first thing, very first thing that I'm working on in my community of gladiators is that question of self-love. So self-love for me is a few things. It's the permission slip, right? It's you telling yourself, or maybe even you accepting the telling from the divine that you're worthy, and it's okay to want more. It's okay to have ambitions. It's okay to change your mind and to explore new things and ways of manifesting your energy. It's okay to grow out of spaces and into new spaces. So self-love tells you that growth and success and wealth, even amassing the material things, you know, all of that is okay. And too many of us pull our sense of worthiness from the permission that we get or don't get from other people. Like if somebody says it's okay to do it, then you go and do it. But if they're not okay with you doing it, you're not going to do it. And if they give you one bad review, you're not going to continue, because if them not say it's okay, if they not sign my permission slip, me not go. You have to sign your permission slip. You have to give yourself the authority to exist in spaces that you don't usually exist in, but you know you belong there, because the space no more than you. You are a child of the divine, and you walk into your life with that kind of authority. Like, hey, you know, shoes are big bread, but I have on shoes, and my walk coming here, and I'm gonna be here, and I'm gonna be here as myself, and I love myself enough to use my voice so you can hear me and know what I'm thinking, because I'm not what I'm wearing. I'm not even what I smell like. So y'all gonna have to deal with that. But I am here in love with me, where I am, what I have, and I'm enough to come into this space and just be seen and be heard. But you have to love yourself, you know, like you really do have to love yourself. And self-love is the permission slip a lot of us don't have. Like, we never get it from we were children. There was nothing affirming in our environment. We were never good enough. We were never told that the sky is the limit. In fact, nobody told us about the sky. All they told us about were, you know, the limits. You know, you don't know that there's another space that you can push. There's another ceiling that is higher than the one you're currently seeing. So you're just there, existing with what you have, with nobody ever saying to you, you know, even though we grew up in a board house, yeah, if you work hard enough, you can end up build a house from black cement and steel. Like, there's some people who don't have that in their space at all. Nobody whispering a word of encouragement, nobody giving them hope, nobody feeding a bigger vision, right? All they're being told is that, yes, they come from a this, they have a this, you will always have. So once we learn to love ourselves, even if we don't have that in the environment and nobody don't say it to us, we love ourselves enough to demand more of us, right? And to aspire to be more than what we have been born into. So self-love, of all the things that it happens to be, it is also a permission slip. Like, it gives you permission to go hit some big goals and not feel no way. Like, you set the goal and people look like, oh, weird. They don't have to get it. I love myself. I love myself enough to want to do that. I love myself enough to want to try that. I love myself enough to build that skill. I love myself enough to move in that direction. Y'all don't have to give me permission. The fact that I love myself is the permission, and it's all the approval and affirmation that I need. So I'm always happy to spend time in exercises that encourage self-love. So that's one of the first things that we're working on the Success Farm in our mastermind series. We had actually started that a couple years ago, like a 7 days of self-love activity in 2018. Like, I've been doing it for so long. Just as I was just kind of going back through some of the things that we had done, like, wow, like this is actually a rhythm. You know, my friends say, yeah, Krystal, this is your zone, this is your thing. Because a lot of it, you know, I've been sharing for quite a while with my community, but this mastermind gives me an opportunity to just kind of pack it into a system, organize it, structure it, and just deliver it, you know, month by month by month by month by month, to really serve my audience. So, okay, this thing has finally downloaded. I was just checking on my the Zoom webinar, because it's been converting for so long. And okay, good, and it's saved in the right place. Yeah, so gonna upload that. So again, if you're in the mastermind, don't check it yet. The Zoom thing just finished convert, and I forgot to upload it so you can watch the replay. If you missed the live, I think there are about 3 people who weren't able to join the live. Don't worry, the replay is good enough, and we walk through the workbook. If you haven't registered yet, as I said, it's not too late, because the live replay video is going to be accessible to you, so you can use that to catch up. You're not gonna be left behind, because we do have the replay video available. The other thing I wanted to share about self-love is I consider it a balm, you know, a kind of soothing thing that you apply over a wound or some kind of pain. You know when you don't do well at something and the first inclination is to just say, oh, you're terrible, you're horrible, hate it, it's awful, you're an awful person. When you love yourself, you find compassion. Like even in your worst moments, when you've made terrible mistakes, that mistake will never have make some of them this year, right? And some of them make it in the newspaper. If I were to allow the negative self-talk to say to me, girl, what you do? Stop. No do no work. Move. If I were to listen to those voices, I wouldn't be here right now, you know? And because I've developed such a deep and passionate love for myself, and I surround myself with people who love me too, right? Because that's also important, to love yourself enough to have good people in your life. But I've developed such a profound rhythm and system to love myself that self-love acts as a balm, so I can find my compassion. I can find my self-compassion, right? So when things aren't working how they're supposed to work, even while, you know, Rome is burning and tumbling down, I can kind of stand in my stillness and affirm, you know, you are not your failures. You are more than this experience. And if you pay attention, you will learn what you need to learn from it, because life don't come with a handbook. You're daring, so you're going to be taking some risks, and those risks carry consequences. So when you meet the consequences, just remember it's because you are daring and you're brave and you're bold, and that's not a crime. What would be a crime is to fail and not learn from it. So I found self-love to act that way for me, as a balm for my spirit, and to just help me to find peace even in the storms. And I want that for everybody, and that's why we're doing self-love as the very first challenge in our mastermind. Because once you conquer that, it's almost as if nothing else can break your spirit, because you love you enough to not just take the risks, right? Self-love is not just your permission slip to be courageous and do the things then. Self-love is also that balm, you know, that soothing component in your human being that allows you to find compassion for yourself even in the hard times. And the third value I find in self-love is that it's oxygen. You know, it breathes life into spaces that you're not even sure if they were supposed to be alive, right? You don't know if they're dead or alive. It's just like a space of nothingness. And when you love yourself, it gives you just the breath to put good things in spaces. So one of the things I do at the start of every year is a mission statement. Like I give myself a mission and a goal for the year, right? I'm very deliberate about that. What me depend this year, write it down. I am clear. I know me depend. And part of that too is identifying values and truths. So in 2017, I had started to share my 4 truths with my community. So I would identify the truth about my mindset, the truth about my habits and my behavior, the truth about how I will treat success, the truth about how I will face challenges, the truth about how I will face fears. Like I decide what is going to be true for me in this year. I own that. Like I love myself too much to let circumstances define who I'm going to be. Like I have to protect that, you know, self-definition and understanding of who I am and my worthiness. So my 4 truths. In fact, I'm going to share that. I didn't do it last year. And I think it's because I was so wrapped up in all of the, you know, political organizing and enumeration and fundraising and canvassing and campaigning that took up so much time and so much focus, building a new team, breathing life into that team, developing trust, finding a rhythm, finding a momentum, and then preparing for elections. That took a whole lot of focus and commitment and dedication. So a lot of the things that I was usually doing at the start of every year, I didn't do them at the start of 2020. So I'm going to share my 4 truths. I have them already. I share them inside our 2021 mastermind group, but I'll share that with you now. So if you want to develop a set of principles for your life, because that's really what they are, life principles. And I I started that habit and ended up transferring it into my business operations, into my campaign operations. And my campaign had 6 principles that we operated by. And I'm just realizing that it's because I've always had principles to guide my life every single year that naturally I said, oh, this is a gap. Let's define who we want to be in the good times, in the bad times, in the in-between times, when we don't like each other, who we're going to be. Yeah, so my 4 truths, I think I can just share the graphic. Yeah, I can just share the graphic. Usually it's like a link where you go and download. So I'll share the graphic and I'll also do the link. I will do both. I will do both. I'll share it in the link tree and I'll also put it on my main page so you guys can see what my 4 truths are for 2021. And I mean, you can use them. You know, I share them so that people can be served by it, or you can use it as a template to create your own truths, because it's important to know from now who you're going to be when things are great, who you're going to be when things are terrible, who you're going to be when you're confused, who you're going to be when you're afraid. Set that intention now. Set the intention now. Repeat it, revisit it, remember what it is that you said you were going to be, and remain accountable to that set of life principles. So it's a big part of accountability to just commit that in writing and then share that publicly, right? So self-love for me is definitely oxygen, because it helps me to breathe life into things like that, like principles, like values and core beliefs, mission statement or vision statement, defining words that tell you who I am and who I will be. Is because I love myself why I'm able to do those things, like just, you know, knock it off early in the year and just say, I need that. That's who I'm gonna be. So I'm gonna share my 4 truths with you for 2021. And I hope it serves you well. And the other part of sharing things, you know, goals, principles, things like that, is that it triggers what psychologists define as the Hawthorne effect, which is people tend to do the thing that they told people they were going to do because they want to remain consistent in other people's eyes. We're social beings, you know, we're looking for approval and belonging in our social circles and our tribes. So if I say I'm going to lose 10 pounds to myself alone, if I change my mind, who knows, right? If I start eating crap, nobody knows this commitment I'm eating myself. It's just between me, myself, and I and the Lord Jesus Christ. If, however, I say it to 2 or 3 other persons, then they become partners in my accountability. And they will see me eating a pasta and say, is this your lose 10 pound strategy? Especially now that I've communicated openly that I am starting my vegan journey, right? I'm going vegan with Dan. I'm going to put in her handle here. So if anybody's interested in going vegan with Dan, that's Danishka. Yeah, I'm encouraging you to follow her page, send her a DM, let her know that you want to get your meal plan, you want to start an accountability journey with her. But yeah, since I shared openly that I'm gonna go vegan, it now makes me accountable to a community. So you guys will see me at Fromage and look to see what I'm ordering if it is vegan. You guys will see me perhaps in that Burger King drive-thru and just kind of, you know, you that Krystal, what you're ordering, you know? So it helps to keep me. Somebody said it's not for them. Yeah, it helps to keep you accountable. When people have heard you say that you're going to do a thing, the natural disposition of a human being is to want to be consistent. If I say I am a Christian, I have to be consistent with that because people expect me to be this way, and I can't appear inconsistent and uncertain and untrue. Yeah, because that's also part of it, integrity. So share those goals. If you have a community of persons, go ahead and share with them what the goals and ambitions are that you have. You can check my last 2 posts where I talk about the 4 things that set people apart. You know, when people set goals every year, I think it wasn't Stanford University, I can't remember the name of the university, that did a study. 80% of the people who set the goals, it flopped. They don't do it. They don't accomplish it. But I'm not interested in the 80%. I'm interested in the 20%. What is it that they have done to make them goals manifesting at the year? Because me feel like me belong at 20%. And looking at the data, it tells you that they do a couple of things. And one of them includes accountability. They're not sitting down and trying to achieve the goals themselves. Not Oprah, not Bill Gates, none of them that you think about, Elon Musk, none of them are saying, I'm going to do this all by myself. I'm going to sit here in my big mansion and I'm going to tell myself what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to go and do it. Them have them life coach, them have them success coach, them have them health coach, them have them financial coach, them have every kind of coach. Somebody who keeps them accountable. And they're also working in their little privileged group of success, right, with each other. You know, oh, hey, I want to start this business, and oh, I'm planning to go to the moon, and oh, I want to go to Mars. And they talk amongst themselves to set those goals. So when they meet up for the next drink up, how is that trip to Mars looking? How is that eco-friendly business looking? How is this looking? How is that looking? And they become accountable to each other. And then them alone have friend. You have friend too. Create a community of people who can help you to remain accountable, and just work. Do the best job that you can. Do the best job that you can to meet that set of goals and the self-development curriculum that you've designed for yourself. Try your very best to hit those targets, hit the markers, assess yourself regularly, and lean into a community of accountability. People who you know will check in on you. And yeah, like a drip up and a drop, you know, and say, hey, you know, this is not what you said you're going to do. You need to go and go do it. So I'm blessed to be surrounded by people like that who help to remind me, hey, head up, let's go. Remember, this is where we were going, man. In the moments that you don't feel like you can sustain it yourself. So that's the benefit of sharing things openly and leaning into accountability. So just to go over really quickly what we had shared, in case you're joining us late, I was talking about self-love and the need to develop a deep sense of appreciation and gratitude for our worthiness, you know, before we try to set goals and achieve goals, before we go into 2021 with all the expectations of what the world is going to give us. The first thing we have to do is just think we're worthy of it. You know, love up yourself. And that's the first challenge that we are engaged in our 2021 mastermind. It's a 7-day self-love challenge. And it's because I find self-love to be useful in 3 ways. 1, to give us a permission slip. It gives us the courage. You love yourself enough, you will have the courage to go and do things even when nobody else understands or supports you. You love yourself enough, you will find compassion. It's a balm for your spirit, especially when you're going through difficult times, uncertain times, extreme stresses and pressure. You have to love yourself enough through those hard moments, through the mistakes and through the failures. And self-love is what allows you to find self-compassion when things get hard. And for me, self-love is also kind of oxygen, you know. It breathes life into things like life principles and purpose. It helps me to put into words who I am and who I want to be, especially in moments when it's not easy to do that. So it's why we're starting with self-love first. Before we start with any other goal, any other challenge, any other thing about fitness and diet and money and this and that. Self-love. Do you love yourself? Because if you don't love yourself, there's no goal that you're going to chase passionately and with discipline for 12 months. You have to love yourself enough to want that outcome. So, Princess says her family and friends tell her she loves herself too much. Girl, love yourself. Love yourself, right? Teach them how to love you. Because some people come with some fenke love and think that is enough. You have to show them, say, I saw me love myself, right? When me love myself, for example, I go to my bed early. I'm going to stay out late. So if you love me, you're not going to invite me going to be late for me. Can't love myself, right? If you love me, the way me love me, when you see me do certain things, you will stop me because I love myself enough for inner chaos and argument. I love myself too much for over yes I do this and over this I say that. So when you show people what you mean when you say you love yourself, you're setting a standard for them. So them start feeling comfortable enough to ask you to do things that are clearly in conflict with how you show love to yourself. And that's important. So let them rise to the occasion, right? So, okay? But so just remind them, say God, if you read the Bible, Jesus loved you enough for dead off, right? Like cause he never do nothing, you know. Innocent man spread out himself up on the cross and dead kind love you. So that's the kind of divine and supreme love that you're experiencing, right? Yeah. So when other people come in and I say them love you, right? But I tell them to go up on the cross, right? I'm not dead for me, but just understand, say the person who love me the most, and that them do. So and that you compete with, yeah, right? Yeah. So you can send me $100 credit and ask me why I'm not say you love me. And that's my love go. The way oh God love me, it coming as standing up here. So say if you come here, come up here. So yeah. So let them figure out how to love you. Let them figure out how to love you. But always you have to love yourself first, and you have to show people what you mean when you say you love you, so that their actions can be consistent with and in tandem with that. Otherwise, if you're inconsistent, like you say, I love myself enough, I love myself too much, they eat careless, right? Because my body is my temple and I honor my body. And then you don't do it. And then you're trying to convince them to also honor your body. And they're looking at you like, but you don't honor your body. Like, what do you mean, honor body? Your self-love thing kind of shaky. So, set the standards, observe and maintain them. Because people are watching and learning how to treat you based on how you treat you. Okay? So, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm always happy to share these little gems with you. And the last thing I want to say is, and I'm really excited about this, sharing it openly, encourages accountability, got to do it. Now, if you've been in my community for a very long time, you know that Good Gas Mondays are a thing, right? I started Good Gas Mondays when I was engaged in a 9 to 5, which meant that I had a very solid morning routine. So by X time, I drive go downtown, down at the office, right? So I could set up, like get into the parking lot 20 minutes early, bam, to Good Gas Mondays, and then whoops, go upstairs and reach work on time. Transitioned out of 9 to 5 into self-employed, which gave me a lot more flexibility in terms of my time, which of course I made use of, but it threw off my Good Gas Monday system. So sometimes I do Good Gas Mondays, sometimes I don't do it. And then all the time I get like messages, Krystal, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this Monday. And then I try off of this Monday, and then the next Monday I miss it. So 2021, one of the things I have declared in our Life on Purpose life guide, so it's actually the worksheet that we used just now in our first webinar. One of the things I outlined is that I will not allow, there are 3 things, but the one relevant here is inconsistency to distract me from a life of excellence. And I feel like Good Gas Mondays is part of my excellence.